In our last session, we rounded off our pinch pot to the shape of a pumpkin. We left about a 2-inch opening on the bottom, and then we spent some time cleaning this up, preparing it to carve and put our details. One of the first details I want to add is a stem. To do this, I'm going to roll out a small coil. I'm going to roll out this coil longer than I need it so I can trim it for size. I'm also going to taper it at one end so it's a little bit thinner by rolling one end a little bit more than the other. As you can see, I'm also thickening one side just by kind of tapping it on the table and allowing that part to get a little bit thicker. Now it's time to test fit. I'm going to clean up my shape just a little bit, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a curl to make it fun. Let's test fit one more time, and then we're going to score and slip to attach it. I'm tracing the outside edge of my stem, scoring the inside of that circle that I've just made. And now let's get that nice and wet so that we can develop a little bit of mud. And we'll glue this on nice and firmly. Give it a little press and blend clay from one piece to the other, making sure that you seal up that seam nice and tight. Scoring gives it some texture and some grip so that the pieces stick together well, and the slip is there to glue our pieces together. We want to make sure that we blend that seam and seal it up so that those two pieces of clay become one. To ensure that these two pieces are joined well, I'm going to roll out a really thin coil, and I'm going to take that coil and wrap it around the seam that I just cleaned and blend that clay to it too to give it a little bit of extra support. So I'm blending it first with my finger, and then I'm going to take a tool and smooth it just a little bit more to make sure that everything is nice and clean. Let's take this cleanup a step further with a sponge. Now it's important to squeeze the water out of the sponge so that you don't over soak the clay, because otherwise you might wash away the finer particles of clay, which will bring to the surface the rough sandiness, and we want to try to avoid that. Before we start drawing our design on there and carving it out, we're going to add the ridges of the pumpkin. So we're going to take a tool with a flat end and kind of rotate it and push it gently into the clay to create some ridges that we might see on a pumpkin or a jack-o'-lantern. Now that we have our details of ridges and a stem, we've created a nice little pumpkin that in our next video we'll go ahead and start to carve. If you find this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing.